her topic is how Jack Canfield came to write the foreword for legal protections. Now, as I was reading this intro, it dawned on me how little I know about Leonie. So I am really looking forward to this because she has done an amazing amount of things over the years. And her book is something that is also I'm very interested in. So I'm going to stop here and I'm just going to turn the meeting over to Leonie. So I'm going to stop sharing so that you can start yours, okay?
Okay, I'm going to need to share my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And I need to start. I'm looking for what causes the thing to go into a slide presentation, but
At the very up at the top of your screen is you go on that top line. There's something that says slideshow. Click on it.
Right, I can't see it. It's underneath a bar now. Ah, here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Move the bar. There we go. Why is it not coming up?
You have to click from beginning.
Oh.
All the way over to the left.
All the way over to the left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right above where you are now.
Oh, okay. There we go. Hopefully. There it goes. Okay.
Perfect.
We're told to show, not tell. And so this is an unusual situation where I can actually show you what Jack Canfield actually said.
Well, good work. I mean, I'm impressed. And please, in chat, you got a lot of good ideas here in chat.
It's everyone the manuscript you sent.
Look at that. That's some serious writing. That is like
600 plus pages.
Yeah, yeah.
Good job.
It's sort of what every writer hopes to hear from a very much published and very famous author. And the first voice that you heard was the person who was the publicist for John Gray's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and Jack Canfield's Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and many other famous books that we have all heard about. One of us or another of us have all heard about them. Basically.
Well, good work. I mean, I'm impressed. And
oops, it started again.
Please, in chat, you got a lot of good.
I need to. There we go.
Yeah. Ideas here.
Every time I try to move the screen, here it goes. Okay, so that is how Jack Canfield came to write my the story. And he's perhaps the best-selling nonfiction author of all time. He sold over 600 million copies, which is rather hard to, it's a lot of ice cream cones, let's just say that. Many different languages, many different countries. And I know that a number of people who are here, well, if Rose were here, she would have been one of the people who contributed to one of his books. And I know there are probably other people who have as well, because a lot of his books deal with stories and how the stories show character, show development, and give examples for other people. Jack is a human potential guru and a frequent keynote speaker all over the world. And I got to meet him as part of writers' retreats that were organized by Steve and Laura Harrison. Steve was the voice that you heard just before Jack's. And Jack's second in command at his organization, because he runs a huge organization at this point with his teaching and his writing and his speaking, Patty Aubrey. And you will hear her later because she kind of cuts in on Jack at the end. The nice thing about these retreats is that all four of them will read the manuscript and comment on it. But since everybody was asking me, you know, what's it like to get coaching from Jack Canfield? And since I could do that with clips from what he actually said, I figured this is the best way to go about it. So I'm including almost only Jack, not Steve. So this was how I introduced the book that you just saw Jack hold up.
I wrote a big, huge, whopping book, which actually is probably going to be chopped into 3 at least before it's published.
And then
Well, I have many ideas, but I really need to write a book with what you're talking about now, which is all this stuff, all the different examples that you've got, all the different things about the Baker Act, and I mean, all these, I don't know any of this stuff. I do think this is horrifying, and I think that ultimately, if you wrote a book about this, kind of more of a nonfiction, hey, you need to know this, guys, and I love that title, you know, Mom's Losing It, you know, whatever the rest of the subtitle was, that's really cool. I think it lends itself then to a documentary film. And then I think it lends itself to a 60-minute special once you get that book done, because that's the kind of thing they love to look at, is like things that people don't know that are really terrible. It's like the prison system that's been privatized. Then you get judges who own stock in the prison, sending people to prison for longer sentences because it's good for their income. Pennsylvania is one of the worst states to do that in. And so I love what you're trying to do. I think it's a really huge issue, and it needs a movement and political action and all that good stuff and laws passed. The book you have, let's talk about that. The book, from my point of view, gets interesting around page 299. That's when you get into mother being cut or mother breaking her leg or whatever was in the shower. It's like the stuff we're talking about now. That really starts to happen. Never seen so much research about a family. You are good at it. That's great. But for me as a reader, where it gets fascinating is starting around page 310, 311, whatever. That is your story of having to deal with everything we've been talking about. There's some wonderful parts in here. I mean, it really is fascinating. All the thing about the guardian and the aide and how she manipulates your mother, and you can't go over there, and they're going out, the aides are going out and, you know, leaving your mom alone, and there's no ramp there, and they're charging you for it. That's good stuff. As a historian, you're great, incredible. I used to teach history and historiography. You're unparalleled, but you got something to work with. But I would really take that third part, and I would really work it. There's a good book there. Well,
okay, and there's a picture of Jack holding the book that resulted from his telling me the last third of the book really needed development as a book. And anybody who wants a copy, it's free on Kindle Unlimited at this point. Was Jack right? I think so. It's got 9 awards at this point, and I don't know if it's going to get more, but I was truly blown away by by the reception that people I never knew and probably will never meet, because I don't know who the panelists or the judges were in any of these awards. I was just absolutely astounded. But Jack's intuition is right on, and the only reason I'm not including what he said to other people is I don't have the right to do that. These are private consultations online, but other people are listening. There are usually between 11 and 17 people who are invited. And the only reason I managed to get in on them at all was that in 2020, something happened, and it drove a lot of organizations and people who wanted to stay in business to go online. And if this hadn't been online, I either might have not have known about it, or I might not have gone, because Jack has a house in Santa Barbara and he likes that house in Santa Barbara for these retreats. And nobody was traveling then. And so I was, and many other authors were the beneficiaries of his generosity in allowing people to go online and talk to him just as intensely online as they ever did in person. It's been an extraordinary experience. And I actually, from there, went into a different book from the one that he talked about me doing ultimately, which was a book about the general situation in elder care and guardianship. This was an intermediate step, and I'll explain a little bit more about it as I describe it.
And so I came to this because I was in a 14-year legal struggle that encompassed several different law cases. And I lost my own freedom of speech in the process for a period of years. So I was pretty much almost not officially under house arrest, but not allowed to say anything to anybody that meant anything to me for a period of almost 5 years. If I had been able to have contact with either information or a firm of attorneys from whom I could get just general advice when I needed it before a situation escalated to the point where it became a court matter or a very litigious matter where people were arguing and quarreling a lot, it would have been great. And so what I did was I went to Dr. Google and I took a look at who are the best services or what are the best services for people who are looking for either legal forms or legal services. And they had a nice list at Forbes Advisor of the 5 top firms that came up, and they had ranked 1 to 5. And I thought, this is great. I'll just look at this. And when I looked at their little schematic diagrams of the different firms, I started asking myself questions. Where did this firm come from? Who are the actual people behind it? What's their philosophy? Because I discovered in my experience that makes a huge difference to your outcome, whether your attorney's only in it for the money. Does he have a philosophy behind it? Does he have an idea of service behind it? What's actually behind the service that you're consuming? So I discovered some surprising things. At least they were surprising to me that many of these firms really belong to one company. And so the philosophy that underlies them now has changed since the one company has bought 3 or 4 other firms. And so when you buy into getting services from this one company, you're really getting pretty much all the same services, regardless of the name that's on the brand. And so I came.
No, got to go further, but there it goes. Okay. And this was Jack's response, which totally surprised me because I didn't have a clue that he had any knowledge of this subject whatsoever. He had absolutely no knowledge of guardianship, but he did have a very, very close association with and an interest in a firm that came out #1 on the Forbes list.
I have read through a lot of it over my lunch period, and when I thought it might be a possibility. I used to belong to Legal Shield way back when. A couple of my friends became Legal Shield. It's an MLM in terms of marketing.
Yeah.
And so I have good friends who are very successful in that. I keynoted the Legal Shield conference 2 years ago. Their national sales, when all the people came together, because I like the company a lot and they like me as well. We got to a place where some of our legal issues were a little more complicated and expensive in terms of lawsuits and things like that. So we retained a company that we work with, and also Patty knows a man who owns a law firm that we've done a lot of our work for his family, and so we get some free legal advice from them. But I was, scrolling through the Legal Shield thing. I like that you went back and you're looking at the founders and who they are and what their commitment is and whether the company's been sold or not, and are they keeping up with the same issues. You've been very specific about what the the offers are, you know, what the commitments are and how much you get for free. And then if you go way over that, you get 25%, you know, you're paying that. And so it's I think it's very complete. But as always, your writing is so complete. I mean, you are a research nut.
I think you have the Angie's list of everything.
Yeah. I have read.
There we go. Okay. And Jack was right again. He has a very, very fine sense of what people are interested in, what people need, what people can use. And this is a book about doing research about legal firms. And I was just blown away by the fact that it was correct. He emailed me right after I had that discussion with him on Zoom. And he said, I want to be involved in this project. Can I do something like writing a foreword? I said, absolutely. You can write anything you like. I'd be delighted. And so that's how Jack Canfield came to write the foreword for legal protection, because he offered to help. And he actually gave me a quote for the previous book as well. I didn't think of asking him to write the foreword for that one. Maybe he would have done that too. But I find him to be very generous and kind, and in criticism, he's very capable of giving it. As when he told me not to do the first 2/3 of the book at that point and to do the last third of it right then. So I've heard him do this with other people as well. And it's a very interesting, I find a very interesting retreat, because it brings together people sometimes from all over the world who want his advice and want his help and want the help of the other people who come together with him, because it's always the same group of 4 critique people who are co-hosting with him, the 3 others and Jack. And so it's a rather intense and exciting experience. It goes over 2 days. It's all day, both days, and it sometimes runs to, well, from my time zone, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and it starts in the morning. So each person gets a chance to present. You saw little tiny snippets of what was said. Those were just little clips, because the actual discussion sessions can be 45 minutes, 30 minutes. They're supposed to be 20 minutes, but they tend to run over a bit. And the critiques are very, very thorough and very helpful, I find. So I do recommend them. And this is what I said, what it's like to be.
You know, as I mentioned, before I read your book, I did not know about this term legal guardianship, which I actually looked up on the internet. But since then, I've come to see what a complicated and really potentially dangerous minefield this can be for people who are dealing with and caring for their aging parents and their grandparents. So tell us about what got you started on this crusade to help people whose elders seem to need help.
Well, I was down that path myself. I had older relatives when I was younger who had developed dementia, and I was a bystander there. But when it came to my husband and my mother, my husband because of Parkinson's disease and my mother because of Alzheimer's, it became very immediate and very personal and very painful for everybody concerned. And I realized that I'm not the only person who's having this happen. I started talking to people, and I decided to go back to school and get a master's in public health so I could understand what the social problem was and how maybe we could go about addressing it.
So this is a very quick and easy introduction to what it's like to be in that hot seat. I've actually now been in that position 8 times, and it is amazing. I think this has gotten to be a sort of commercial for that experience, because I think it's a fantastic experience, and you get to meet fellow authors as well as the other people in Jack's group. And allows you to develop in ways that you never thought you would. And each one of those people has specific expertise in other areas and can tell you about podcasting or broadcasting or marketing, and it is just phenomenal. And Jack is good at that as well, but I concentrated on the editorial factor here because I think that that really is what most people think of when they think of somebody who's written hundreds of books and is still writing books. Jack just turned 80. And he's still giving these retreats, and anybody who can go, probably it would be a really great thing for everybody involved. I'm offering, I will be offering tonight, I have a coupon for the second book for about 40% off from Ingram Spark, and I would need to go get it and put it in the chat, because I don't have it here yet, because I started without a break. I planned to go get it during the break and there wasn't one. So I can go get that and come back and put it in the chat. And if anyone has questions, I'd be very happy to entertain them. I just need to get my screen not sharing large anymore. Okay, let me go and get that. I can't find it. I will send it to anybody who wants it. And the coupon will be valid for until the 31st. So does anybody have any questions about how this operates?